This reading is being recorded, so if you have concerns, please keep your camera off. Inaugurated in September 2020. Do you remember that year? The series seeks to remediate the paucity of presentations of speculative poetry by its living creators. Now in its 6th year, the Speculative Sundays Poetry Reading Series has presented 43-hour-long events, including 56 poet readings. Speculative poetry, ancient of days, older than the flood. The poetry of possibilities centers the imagined as real. The first recorded human literature was speculative verse. Gilgamesh, the Ramayana, the Mahabharata, the Iliad, and the Odyssey, and Beowulf are ancient examples. Speculative poetry includes alternate history, astropoetry, cryptid, cyberpunk, dystopian, fabulism, fairy tales, fantasy, folklore, futurism, horror, magic, monsters, mythology, occult, paranormal, robots, science fiction, shifters, slipstream, solar funk. I learned a new one. Romantasy, space opera, superheroes, supernatural, sword and sorcery, sword and soul, steampunk, time travel, post-apocalyptic, and weird. It takes all poetic forms, plus one of its own called sci-fi coup. From nursery rhymes to Edgar Allan Poe's The Raven, from Puff the Magic Dragon to Zombie Jamboree, we've all recited and sung speculative poetry. You can find the series recordings on Facebook and on YouTube, and the list of past poets is at speculativepoetry.com. Now, you see a beautiful woman with earrings sitting there. That is Linda D. Addison, a 5-time recipient of the Horror Writers Association Bram Stoker Award. The first 2 awards were for her poetry collections Consumed, Reduced to Beautiful Gray Ashes, and Being Full of Light, Insubstantial. Her 3rd award was for How to Recognize a Demon Has Become Your Friend. Her 4th HWA Bram Stoker was for the collection The 4 Elements, written with Marge Simon, Rain Graves, and Charlee Jacob. Her 5th Bram Stoker was for the collection The Place of Broken Things, written with Alessandro Manzetti. She is recipient of the Horror Writers Association Lifetime Achievement Award. The Horror Writers Association has also named her Mentor of the Year. And she is Science Fiction and Fantasy Poetry Association Grand Master of Fantastic Poetry. Welcome, Linda D. Addison.
Why, thank you, Grandmaster Akua. It is a pleasure and an honor. I would do anything for you, you know that. Oh, should I just start reading? I can't hear you, sorry.
Oh, I cut myself off and went away. Oh, yes, my dear Linda, that was your intro, and you may take it away.
Thank you so much. So I'm going to read like around 15 minutes, you think?
No, dear heart. How about a half hour?
Ooh, okay.
Well, listen, as long as you are comfortable, because the we are full of participants, all of whom would doubtless like to chat with you. And like I said, I always have things to chat with you about, especially the new collection. So as long as you desire, um, thank you.
Okay, thank you. No, I wanted to leave time. You know I love talking with you, and I always love talking with other folks, so that's always the thing. So I will do I have timings here, but I didn't add everything up. Like this is 8. Okay. So I'll try to read like 15 minutes. I'll put my timer on, and then I mean about, around 20 or so, and then we can see if there's questions. Put my timer on. Okay. I That is a resume and a half. Wow. Thank you. Feeling pretty blessed in my life.
You're
For many years,
fabulous. That's it. So, you know,
so I'm going to read some poems. Here's an early one that I absolutely just love. I'm reading poems from this one's from How to Recognize the Demon Has Become Your Friend, which, I like to think that is entertaining and required reading. If you don't need to know, okay, that's a choice. I'm just saying. I like to know. But so this is called After I Ate the Apple. After I ate the apple, I saw colors a little bit different. Edges of the garden came into focus. I took a little walk just to see what was out there. I planned on coming back, really. I did. Found magic in my hands and my hips. Found even a look could stir things up. So I stirred and stirred, making little and big things. With the walking, my legs got stronger, even with calluses. I kept walking, making things shiny and bright, sour and sweet. I kept on stirring. I planned to return to show you what I found. Oh, there were so many things, so much to stir up, keeping me busy. I forgot my way back after I ate the apple.
mhm.
So the next one is from an anthology. Oops. Thank you. So the next one is from an anthology published in 2023 called Death Realm Spirits, and it was edited by Stephen Mark Rainey, which was just a pleasure to be able to be part of. And this poem is dedicated to Michelle Renee Lane, and she knows what. Next time you see her, you ask her. It's called As Below, So Above. The endlessly repeating dream. Brilliant sunlight caresses sweet air with each inhale. Blanket of warmth dissolves tension. Eyes smile at the possibility of new love. Alone from here to the horizon on rolling hills, saguaros stretch arms into blue sky, arms crowned with red purple pods. All fruit pods split open at once. Dark red oozes down to sandy earth. In a blink, endless red surges into the sky. Chaotic pulsing covers the cactus, the ground, me, with thick liquid, a blanket of warmth. I lick my fingers, salty, sweet blood, not fruit juice. Memories of an unlikely place returns. I open my mouth, inhale each drop. Tension gone. I smile at the taste of my fear. Suckled from old desires, desires we foolish humans crave. I look down. A reflection floats in a dark puddle. An animal stares back. hungry, sad, red-rimmed eyes. It starts lapping, falling to my knees, reaching to it, my fear, my animal, my oblivion. No love will spring from this earth, soaked in the blood of lost hope, lives shattered each time my heart twisted love in the direction of my desire, my awful desire. The dream ends and begins again, again, again. Each time a different animal consumes dreadful beliefs I cannot release. The hunger lies like a secret toad, again, again, whispered to no one. Waking aches more and more. Oblivion feels more intimate each night. Daylight becomes the dark dimension, a false land. Mimicking actual life, night terrors uncover my foolish truth. The endlessly repeating dream, arms pump blood into blue sky, each inhale, each blink, a memory. I am the animal staring, emptied of false belief. I am terror. As below, so above. I got stuck on that and I had a conversation with Michelle and some other people. And like I said, she knows why I got unstuck real fast. So I said, I'm going to dedicate to you. You're going to have to explain the situation. So the next one is called Death and the Goddess Yet Seen. And I should get the anthology because it's going to make more sense to me. But it's from an anthology called Where the Silent Ones. I meant to pull it out earlier. Where the Silent Ones Watch, which were all stories and poetry in, inspired by, this is why I need to pull it out. Hobson. Oh, Ryder Hobson. Oh, heavens to Murgatroyd. Anyway, let's forget that for a moment. So my inspiration was a story that he wrote called The Goddess of Death. And this was, I read his story, and then this was my poem, which was a reflection of the story. So mine is called Death and the Goddess Yet Seen. Ah, you clever, clever human animal, using logic in your monkey brain, figuring it all out. Feeling safe as bullets made one of my mightiest bleed. Did you notice the slight smile under the white mask, his death mask? You thought the lake washed away, blood released from holes you made, but not seen in those last moments, my many arms embracing him. I lapping the outflowing essence, giving life eternal to his devotion. Tonight, when celebrations are done, wine glasses empty, you stumble into your bedroom, wondering at dainty wet footprints, hoping a villager waits to lay with you. You hero, you protector of mere mortals. For you, gods and goddesses live in the realm of superstition, while you fake belief in the garden, the fall from grace. I am your serpent, uncoiling and shadows of your naked deception, revealing the true duality of logic. But what of things yet seen? You won't live to see humans prove our existence in other dimensions. But as I feast on your soul, tightening reasoning around your neck slowly, we will become one. And you will see all. So that's Death and the Goddess Yet Seen. The stories of William Hodson, I believe. So, and yes, this is from the goddess's point of view. I love writing poetry inspired by something, but from a different point of view. So I just think it's kind of interesting and fun. Okay, where are we at? Oh, 10 minutes. Okay, that's good. So, also from the place of broken things, I also like writing what I call a sort of call and response to poetry that other people write that really touch me. And I love Pablo Neruda, love, like obsessed. So as if I ever did have a problem with thinking something, I just have to read one of his poems and I'm done. So I actually um, wrote a poem in The Place of Broken Things, the poetry collection that I wrote with Alessandro Manzetti. And it's inspired by Pablo Neruda's poem, If You Forget Me. This one is called When You Forget Me. You think you know all things, but this is how it is. When I look at the blood moon, at the red streaks, at the slow cuts of my wrist, when I touch the candle's flame, the building soot, or the bloated blisters of my hands, nothing carries you to me. As if nothing exists. Odors, flowers, letters become little memories that sail away from the world I no longer want. Well, yesterday, when little by little you stopped loving me, I shall love you more and more. When suddenly you forgot me, did not look at me, I began to stop feeling all things. If you think me broken and mad, the thoughts of pain that became my life, and you decide to let me drown off the shore of my shattered heart without roots, remember, back on this last day, on this last hour, I shall lift my bleeding wrists, and my mind will sail away to seek sweet death. But if after the last day, the last hour, you remember you and I without bitter deception, if each night a shadow climbs to your bed, to your lips, ah, my love, my torture. In the flames of hell rebuffed, in the nothingness I reside, my love will feed on you, beloved. And as long as you live, I will be in your dreams, never leaving you when you forget me. So, as I said, he is just like everything. I read something and I'm like, okay, let's do this. Thank you so much. Okay. Oh, yeah, okay. I'm so excited about reading this one. So the next one I'm going to read, I'm excited about everything that I read, but as I tell people, you should love your work. That is the muse and universe coming through you. You should be excited. And I am. So I have, I have a poem in the Bestiary of Blood anthology that came out this year. Edited by Jamal Hodge. Whole lot of amazing people on the back. Just crazy. I mean, we could take 15 minutes and I could just read the names, but it's amazing. And it's a beautiful book. This is the hardcover. And such a just a beautiful thing with the poetry. I love it when someone does that. Okay, so I wrote a story also, and the story also looks at the large reckoning, but this is a poem that is reflective of the story in a sense. So, oh, actually, I have it on. Okay, I'll read from the book. So, the large reckoning. Before time and space were separate branches on the same tree, before cosmos' first exhalation, no, there was no intention, no predestination of what you would become. Just stars breaking apart, black holes consuming matter,
Oh,
antimatter, dark.
Linda, I'm sorry to interrupt. Could you
No.
start over because we lost a whole line and a half at the beginning and it sounded,
Oh,
thank you.
oh, no problem. Absolutely. I can't tell because I can hear myself. Sure. Again, is the poem is called The Large Reckoning and is again reflective of this story that talks about humans reckoning coming. Before time and space were separate branches on the same tree, before cosmos' first exhalation, know that there was no intention, no predestination of what you would become. Just stars breaking apart, black holes consuming matter, antimatter, dark matter, creating and uncreating. Loss makes room for new. A mass extinction event long before you, asteroid removing lumbering creatures, all life greater than 25 kilograms succumbs to flames, leaving tidal waves to clean up ashes and bone. Loss makes room. From this cleansed slate, plants thrived, creatures evolved. You emerged on a planet which neither rejoiced nor rebuffed your schemes built from lust for more, more, more. You consume all grace. The natural world loans to you over and over again, believing it limitless in your bottomless hunger, denying the signs. Dolphin songs falling from earth, falling from heaven to earth, twin stars changed, switched observable colors, ignoring answers to endless macro, clear and infinite micro. Within the lion's gaze, owl's waning call, monkey's skipping heart, pigeon's relentless nod, dog's vigorous bark, sloth's mindful crawl, worm's devout burring, smothered moans of hungry, bruised children. The small reckoning seen by you in species disappearing, large and small, hounded for sport, extinct by indifference, forests turn to ash, heat waves searing skin from neglected children and unseen homeless. Each generation corrupted by the last consumes the gap between the beginning and the end. Closer, closer, closer comes the large reckoning. You are your own final killing blow. The stars will watch your extinction event. The whales will sing of the garden you recklessly shunned. You few who saw it coming will surrender in such obliteration, knowing loss makes room for new. The Large Reckoning. And all the animals in the poem are from different stories in the book. This is actually some incredible modern fables of dark tales. And Jamal had us all pick an animal. I picked dolphins for my story. I told my son I was writing a story about dolphins. He was like, "Yeah, they're the worst, right?" I was like, "Yeah, everybody thinks they're smiling. They're smiling all right. Just not what you think they're smiling." Okay, we're at 20 minutes. Akua, you want to stop and see if anyone has questions or if you have any?
Uh, we had some, and
Oh,
just change this view to this. Okay, so we had one wonderful one from Angela Acosta, another wonderful poet. And she,
yes, I love her work.
me too. And she said, I'd love to hear more about the connection between your story and the poem.
Ooh, yeah, oh boy. So the story, the basis of the story, and the story is called, let me give you the title because it also has a thing. The title is The Tale of the Twin Stars, Born of Earth and Sea. And it actually starts off with a little poem. Let me read the poem because then it's going to like give you an idea of why the little poem that starts the story off, okay? Telling the way of how first dolphins came to be. It is said stars fell from the heavens to earth into oceans, becoming sleek, smirking movement. Telling the way of why sirens became into tales. It is said dolphins sung, entered flawed human minds through points of madness, shredding broken souls, telling the way of when twin stars would arrive. It is said one day, Leda's immortal twins would return from the left of Orion to Earth, telling the way of what this means to Earthwalkers. It is said, when the twin stars are reborn, the reckoning will come. Small, then large. So the basics, the basic of the story is that the twin stars come to Earth and become different, two different kinds of life. And and they have to find each other. And sort of the groundwork of the story, and I've mentioned this to other people when talking about it. It was the hardest story I had to write in my life so far because the basics of it has to do with child, violence and seeing it through the story. It was very hard for me to write. I didn't have a great childhood. And so what happened is I was going back to some of the worst moments of my childhood to grab the emotion to put through the story. And it took me a lot longer to write it. Jamal was very patient because literally I would write some of the story and get a headache or nausea and have to stop. But I felt very ready to face that, as a way because I can't say exactly what the where it occurred to me to do that, but the idea that on Earth so many children are abused and killed around the planet. And I'm a person, I base a lot of my stuff on statistics. If I mention anything in a poem that sounds like it's real, go look it up. It probably is because I'm very inspired by that kind of thing. So yeah, and I went to the most painful places I could find in memory as far as how you feel as a child, um, just being hurt by adults and people are supposed to, take care of you. Um, and the idea of the whole story is the dolphins. and one, and children coming together, finding each other. And it does have quite a reckoning at the end, I must say. So yes, it was a wonderful, incredible, painful journey to write, and I'm very, very glad I did it, and I'm very hard to say proud when you rip all your skin off to write something, but I am. I'm glad I did it. So that is the backstory. That's how the story connects to the poem. I wrote the poem afterwards. And as I said, as I mentioned that stanza with the animals, I just went through the book from different animals that people wrote about and pulled in images. So thank you for asking.
Wow, that's that's amazing. I I'm struck by your death titles. Your titles are so inviting and lead me into the poem. And so I wondered if you would share some insight or words about how you get to title your poems, like this last one, The Large Reckoning. So I'm like, all right, I'm ready for this. It's about a reckoning. It's going to be big. And you take me on that journey, and you do that in poem after poem, as below as above, um, Death and the Goddess, When You Forget Me. They're just wonderful, spot on titles. Please talk a bit about your titles.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. Here's the path of the title thing, right? Early in my career, a long time ago, before the dinosaurs walked the earth, I would write titles that I hated. And what I do, I've always done my whole writing career is when I find something that I'm not happy about, I concentrate on that. And so, I mean, I have whole documents full of just titles now with nothing behind them. The Place of Broken Thing came from my document when Alessandro and I decided to do something together.
Oh,
Um, so a lot of times the title comes first, and then I'm inspired through that. And I write very organically. I don't think much. I just go. It's like I just go. It's just like whatever falls, I go. And then it's all in the rewriting, of course, right? Thesaurus is my favorite thing in the whole wide world. And the idea of pacing with tension. It's really important to bring for me, for my brain.
oh, Linda, we're losing you. Oh, Linda, we lost you. Are you still there? Well, I can still see you.
Satisfaction. A lot of times the poems come before, I mean, the poems come and then I find the title.
Linda, we lost 2 minutes of you talking.
What
Yeah,
is going on?
I know it just froze and stopped.
I
So,
don't know. Is it my Wi-Fi? My Wi-Fi looks like it's okay, but yeah, I was missing some of what you said too. Okay.
oh, really? Oh, I'm sorry.
I don't know, technology. Oh, that's right. Oh, Mercury's in retrograde.
I
Hey.
know, isn't that? Don't get me
So
started.
yeah. So I'll just start from the beginning and do a little summary. I don't know if everyone didn't hear me, but I used to write terrible titles and I hated them. And so I just practiced titles. I just made titles. I had documents and pieces of paper full of things. And a lot of times they come from people saying something that I mishear. Like I hear someone say something and then I turn it into something else or whatever. So I just titled them up. So now I am very happy. It's like when you practice anything, and just let me know if you don't hear me. And then I'll just, back up a little bit. I wanted to write haiku so many years ago. I just sat down and wrote like 200 haiku. Sold three of them. So practice makes perfect. So a lot of times, think about the large reckoning from the story I had written already, and I knew, like I said, from that opening short poem, it talks about the small reckoning and the large reckoning.
Hmm.
So, that's where that came from. Others, the Death and the Goddess Yet Seen. because his story was called the goddess of death.
Ah, got it.
His story, William Hobson. So I was like, I don't know. I think I wrote the poem first, and then I came up with the title. And so a lot of times the title comes from whatever I'm feeling through the story. Sometimes it's when Alessandra and I did The Place of Broken Things, he was like, well, what should we call it? And I just went to my title,
Wow.
to my title document.
Hmm.
And I said, well, how about The Place of Broken Things? He was like, yes. And a funny side thing is he was like, so how should we do the theme? And I said, well, I think that each piece we write should maybe have the word or the metaphor for the or place or of. You get it. You see the dance, right? And
Mhm.
it is. And he's another one that writes very just sort of naturally. So we had a wonderful time writing together. I have a book coming out next month, which I'm beyond excited for. Poetry that I wrote with Jamal Hodge, and it's called Everything Endless. That came out of a conversation he and I were having on the phone. And I can honestly not tell you. I asked him himself, and I was like, who said that first? And he was like, I'm not sure if he remembers either, but I always have my little journal nearby when we're talking because there's always and a lot of my stuff comes from my journals too. Titles, I'm writing down. Like I said, I mishear what people say. If I'm listening to other people's readings, which I love, I'll start writing something down. I just had something here. I wrote brainwashing while asleep, but brainwashing like two words, like towel washing. Brainwashing when asleep. I don't know, but that might become a poem one day. So, I a lot of my work actually comes from random writing and stuff, but everything endless. Whoever said it first, I just remember both of us going, "Oh my God, that's so good." So, I just believe in writing anything randomly that comes down the line, and you just never know later on what that will do because a lot of my writing is from the subconscious. So I feel like I'm planning stuff, I'm planning stuff, I'm planning stuff, and then all of a sudden it comes. And that's how it begins. And everything endless, I am beyond excited about it. It's collaborative poems that he and I wrote together. It's poems where we wrote off of each other. He would write a poem, and then I would do a sort of a echo in my own words. Um, and we didn't actually plan this, although he had a lot more conscious talking about the book. But from beginning to end, it's like a journey. It's probably the most like that of anything I've written.
It's,
Um,
folks, it's stunning. I'm going to change this to gallery
oh,
view. So
that's right.
I've been trying to keep my mouth shut as she spoke about it. I
Oh,
look forward to it entering the world. I am grateful to have been graced with a preview of the collection. And it's just that you talk about it as being unconscious is kind of shocking, or
I
even
know.
subconscious, because it pours out and it does do that journeying. I was surprised though you didn't read anything from it. And we still have time should you choose to, or maybe you want to save it till when it's out in the world. So um,
I thought I'd rather wait until it
I
actually.
got you. Okay, so that's fine. I have a question from Miguel Mitchell, and he asks, do you like to build up the tension in your poems or grab the reader in that first few lines, or some mixture of the two?
Thank you, Miguel, for asking me because you're a wonderful poet. So I appreciate you looking, through your eyes to ask that question. I feel like whether it's a poem or a story, I like to feel like you're aware of the energy that the reader is going through, right? So for me, a lot of times it's like music, and then when I do the rewriting is when I really shape it, and I do want that energy in some kind of way. And it's like music, like I said, like I'm looking at death and the goddess yet seen. The first line is, ah. You clever, clever human animal.
Mm.
But for me, using logic in your monkey brain. Like when I first, it's like a song that I'm trying to find. And in the song is curiosity and rhythm that I can't explain. There's like a rhythm. And that rhythm, I like it to pull the reader in while they're listening. And I do want some kind of a impact at the in the last stanza is really important for me. Everyone has a different way that they write, but I like whatever story I'm telling, that last stanza, or the last line, like when you forget me, the last line about I will be in your dreams, never leaving you. When the person I mean, it's probably clear that because of the breaking of the love, couldn't stand to be alive anymore. But in the last stanza, they're gonna live forever in his dreams. Torture that person. So, okay. But I don't plan these things so much as I just hear the song and I start writing, and then with the editing is where I pull it, the like you, like Mary, like Akua. I mean, I'm not saying how your form is that you do it, but in the end, to me, when I read it out loud, I want to feel that energy come up, and then, not even if it crashes in the last line, I love that. So, and I'm saying I'm not reading anything from everything and endless because it's coming out Earth Day, April 22nd, and that's Jamal's birthday. I will tell you a little story about that. The last piece in there, and Akua, blessings to you for giving us such a beautiful blurb. The last poem is and I'm gonna say this wrong because I have a situation with saying words. um, a Apesiary poem that's in the form of a letter. Akua, you know how to say this. You're
Epistolary.
Thank you, epistolary. So we wanted to uh, have the last piece something we wrote together because some of it is like we going back and forth, we're going back and forth, and some we wrote together. So that morning, and I believe very much in the unfolding of the universe for me to pay attention and follow it. That morning, I read something somewhere about that form, which I believe I've never written in that I can remember. And I was like, oh, this is fascinating because I love different forms. It's like a song that you're singing in a different key with a different rhythm. And I find it very inspiring and uplifting to try something I've never done before. So he and I we were gonna write this over the phone, and I said to him, I sent him a message. I said, have you ever heard of this? Have you ever written this? And he was like, I don't know. I said, okay, you go look it up. And then we'll talk afterwards. That piece, that last piece is a letter to all poets, all human poets from the infinite. Anyway, yeah, I'm very excited about it. And the cover, oh my God, here's the cover. I don't know if you can be able to see it very well. I'm getting all the reflections.
We see it. And for folks who are here, Isis Asari very kindly put a link in the chat for early orders. So thank you, Isis, for sharing that.
Thank you so much.
It's
And the
gorgeous.
the idea, yeah, idea of this cover was really Jamal because his background is film, and a lot of his work is very visual. So, and mine is not. I'd rather trust the artists and talk to them about my concept than try to come up with it. But um, him and Ben, oh my, the artist, I just was talking about him, but the two of them working together came up with an incredible, incredible cover. So
Let's talk about music for a moment.
yes,
And in the comments, Mary Terzillo, another wonderful poet,
who
said
I love.
said that you are very musical, but I know that music has some prominence, foregrounding in your life. If you'd like to talk about your relationship to music and music in your poetry. And
I
didn't you
love
get an
that.
award for a poem uh,
Oh,
that's song-like? So anyway, please.
Thank you. I like that question a lot because here's the thing about, first of all, here's the thing about being an organic writer. Only time I can figure stuff out is when people ask me questions and start thinking about it. Oh, I think that it's, and then I get like, oh, is that what it is? So I, the biggest and almost only positive thing in my first 18 years on this planet, besides librarians who were my angels, by the way, there was like my only safe place on this planet was a library. That was before you can get stuff online. You had to go to the library and actually figure. Um, but the other memories is music because I was super, super introverted, believe it or not. And so when I heard music, though, I could just feel it. And, whether it was gospel, which my dad liked to listen to, or R&B. And I started like, I must have been like 5 or 6 when I started having ideas of my own stories or fables, but they were always like music in my head. And, when you like, don't talk to nobody for years, which has something to do with why I can't pronounce things. Um, and no one talked to me. That was the biggest part of it. Trust me, talking and reading things to your children, do it. Because the first few years is where their brain starts to figure out how to put it together. Yeah. Anyway, um, and the words would just be like music to me. And the fables, as we all grew up on, were all very musical to me. They rhymed. If think about the fables that you grew up on. So somehow, I don't know, my brain is just very linked into that. Especially like when I'm editing something, I can hear where to edit it when I read it out loud. The music has to happen for me. Sometimes the repeating of the words is like a repeating of a rhythm that I feel I need. It's like it's very it's very subconscious, but without it, I honestly, I mean, I've had when Everything Endless comes out and another collection comes out that I wrote with 3 other women, which is coming out in June. Um, I Yeah, it's the one with one, two, three, four other women is called Illegal Feast, and everybody will know about that when that comes out. Um, it's all about the music for me. I have to feel the rhythm when I'm reading it out loud, and that's why I always tell others who I'm working with in mentoring to read it out loud because you're going to hear when you bump over a word. If you're using a harsh word to make a harsh feeling, to make a harsh sound, that's fine. So everything is musical that I write for the finals to me. That's just how I hear it all. And jazz. And then that's how I write. I've written for 50 years listening to Miles Davis and Keith Jarrett. And I usually like music that doesn't have words in it because my subconscious is like, what was that word? And I'm like, no, come back. So um so I have a lot of music that I love to put on, and it just allows my brain to loosen up and let the words come through.
Thank you for naming some of my personal saints.
Oh, for real, real.
Jazz was my religion.
Oh,
It
yeah.
it is no longer, but it's still very central to me. So I love hearing that. Um, you you've worked for a long time also as an editor. At what point in your process do you edit your poetry? And how has one endeavor informed the other for you?
Right. So that's my process is like very, defined in that way. I believe in writing the first draft like you're vomiting. Like you can't stop. You got to get it out. You got to get it out. Okay. And so I don't form then, unless it naturally comes as I'm writing it. It just comes out, words, boom, 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 boom. And then I'll go and when I read it out loud is when I start feeling the form for it, the shape for it. Um, a big deal for me is if you write really like raggedy like that first draft, you end up using a lot of the same words, right? Dark, 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 dark. Any word you should I don't want to pay any attention to that. I need to get it out. And then once it's out, then I look up all the versions of words that mean dark and the opposite. Because and that's like editing becomes very again trying to find the music. Again, I found it to be really, I guess maybe part of my style is that sometimes I'll say the opposite of what it was in the first draft. And I make the example in workshops and stuff I've taught, like you could say love is like a sweet moment. Well, that sounds all nice and everything, but it's kind of boring because everybody says that. So you could describe love as something else. You could describe it as something nice, like love is the white dove that just went by my window. Again, I'm not giving y'all, this is coming off the top of my head. So this is not award-winning poetry, okay? And then what if you go the opposite? If you say love flying over broken glass, now you have the reader's attention because they're not expecting that. And that's why opposite in rewriting to me often is a way to really grab the person reading or listening. Like, what? You know, it creates a different image. So I always suggest people try opposites and things you wouldn't think of. Love and a dove, love and anything odd that you wouldn't think of that would relate to whatever the image is that you have in the poem. Try that. That's some interesting situation. And I like interesting things. So
Time
yeah,
is
most my
almost
rewriting is
out
that.
already. I can't believe this, but we can't part from you without asking you about horror, which I know you've looked at 10 Ways to Sunday, and I also know that you've written about. So help us understand why you chose horror and tell us a bit about what horror means to you.
I will say horror chose me. I remember those early fables before they got niceified. I'm
Mm.
talking about 50 years ago. I mean, children were being eaten, okay? There was no niceness involved. You know, people were putting their finger in a thing and having their finger taken off. I
Taken
mean,
off.
and so those things didn't scare me because there was so much fear in my home already,
Mm.
you know, from 4 years old on or five. I was just trying to survive in a very emotional and physical, violent surrounding. So the scary fables were just like, okay. And I started off writing science fiction and fantasy because it wasn't until I got in college where I got away from my home, which gave me distance from my childhood, that I started writing horror because suddenly it was my life and I was in control of my life and I could make my life safe. And then I was willing to start facing that. So a lot of horror to me is the feeling. What is the feeling? And then writing it. And nowadays is really inspired for many years is inspired by what's going on in the outside world, right? The way people are being treated. I have no words for the fact that no matter who, what, and where, people treat other people as less because of whatever height, age, color, skin, stop it. So that anger will help drive a horror poem for me. I will say in looking back at things, I have written poems about people being victimized, but I do not write poems about victims. And I think probably that has a lot to do with how I feel I've evolved my life. You know, I no longer feel like a victim, but I spent a lot of time in my early life feeling like a victim. And so that's really important to me. Um, to let something piss me off and write something about it. You know, I always tell people I can write a poem about an apple and be talking about racism. It's easy. And I don't have to use one word of that people would think of. And again, that's a way of using a metaphor or a word opposite what you think. I wrote one about racism. It was in the shape of a tree, and I talked about a tree. So to me, my horror writing is more psychological and emotional than blood and guts. Um, it's just the way I bring my horror out, I bring my anger out, the fact that I just can't deal with people doing things that are not nice and not balanced.
Although my mind from this evening is stuck on the bleeding saguaro cactus on the ground. So, you do use blood. We
I
heard
do, yes.
we heard
But
we heard,
it's a
we heard
tree.
the blood. Yeah, I know the blood of the that was wonderful.
Thank you so much.
That was wonderful. Are there any other questions? Because we've got 60 seconds left with the wonderful Linda D. Addison. And let me see, will this make us both appear? Okay, there we go. That's even better. Any other questions or comments? I mean, you got a lot of love in the chat. Uh,
Well, let me go save the chat then, because I'm not
yeah.
looking at
Love,
it.
love what you said about horror. Love you, Linda. You're musical, you're wonderful, you're fabulous. Linda D. Addison, every accolade merited. And we are grateful that you exist and that you journey in these realms to heal us, to help us, to entertain us, to enlighten us. Delighted to look forward to your new work. Thank you for joining us. And Starburst, thank you all who came for coming. Thank you all who listened for listening. Stay well, dear hearts. Know peace, stay safe, and please join us next week when Vivian Faith Prescott will be reading. Peace, stay well.
Thank you all for being here, and thank you, Akua, for inviting me. You know I love you more than is nice, more than appropriate. I have a lot of love.
Thank you, dear heart. Thank you. Good night.